welcome to another edition of the Situation Room. I am Derek Kubicki. She is
Alexis Kubicki.
How is everyone today? Alexis, how are you?
I'm doing great like always. How are you?
Very good, thank you. We are just stepping into Easter holidays here,
yes,
Friday today. Big Friday. Anyhow, as per our previous episode, we will continue with our mini-series bringing and explaining the sport of professional boxing to an everyday person, to everyday sports fan who may like sports but doesn't necessarily know all the details that are behind the closed doors that are involved in every sport. And speaking of every sport, professional boxing, it is unlike any other professional sport. They're very similar when we say, this guy is a professional hockey player or professional basketball player. So to become a professional basketball player, you go through a certain system. You start as a kid in high school or whatever, you go through the process, then you have to get drafted through the college system. Usually, very few players go into, let's say, NBA out of high school, but you have to have you go through a certain system.
You have to go through all the stages.
That's right.
As in professional boxing, you make the decision as a fighter that you want to be a professional boxer or an amateur boxer.
That's right. And
it all comes down to that little signature.
That's right. But what will follow is that the system in any other professional sports, it will not allow you to enter the professional ranks if your level is not compatible. Where in professional boxing, the reality may be very painful. You may decide that you want to become a professional fighter, and the minute you step into that ring,
it's all you.
It's on you. And of course, what will follow next can be very brutal.
Yes.
Because you will immediately get exposed. So in other words, the verification whether you belong in a pro ranks doesn't happen prior, or doesn't depend on a system that allows you to become a professional fighter, but the verification takes the night off.
Like when you think of amateurs, it kind of has like those stages.
That's right. The amateurs,
right?
the amateurs are exactly that.
Exactly.
It's exactly that, and it kind of ends when you are an amateur, because when you're an amateur, your coach is it's gauging your position. It's not gonna put you if you have 3, 4, 5 fights.
And don't forget, you have like the tournaments, right? In professional, it's just a one fight.
That's right.
One fight that night, and in amateurs, you can have one fight, or you can have a tournament that you're fighting throughout the week.
That is you pointed out very correct observation. So in the amateur ranks, the sport itself, it is relatively similar to other amateur sports.
Yeah, so like when we were saying, like on the last episode, like you have the team sports that they could be playing every second day. Well, in amateurs, you could be fighting as well in every second day, because if you're in a tournament and you're winning, you're going on, right?
Yes, so in the lower level, and again, great point, Alexis, you are on this morning. At the lower level, more of a beginner amateur boxing tournaments,
not just a beginner. Don't forget, like Europeans, you have all the nationals.
This is what I want to get to. I said at the lower level, the tournaments are short. So they last 2-3 days, depending on how many entries.
Yes.
And so
usually depends on the entries, because you could be. I was like I was 15 years old, and I was already having 3-4 fights at the lower like tournament levels.
Right, but that was in Europe.
Still counts, though. Still counts.
The point I'm trying to make is this: that at the lower level, the tournaments are usually 2 days. 3 days maximum.
3 days,
right?
Because it's usually just Friday to Sunday.
That's right. Yeah. So if you're winning, then you can probably get maximum 3 fights, right? But if you will move on to what it's called the ranking tournaments at the levels of a world championship, continental championship, national team levels, then the tournaments last up to 10 days. And you may fight as much as 4 and even 5 fights within those.
Actually, it happened that it was 6 fights. Usually max is around 6 fights.
Yeah,
because of the entries.
So that's the reference to competing every other day as it is in regular sports.
Like
So,
imagine fighting 6 times in 10 days.
yeah, and those are 3-minute fights. So
And when you look at it, amateur, like you just said, 3-minute fights, right? That's a fast tempo. They're going at it.
that's right. Yeah,
They're going like it's nonstop work because you got 3 rounds of 3 minutes. If you lose the first round, you almost lost the fight right away there because they look right away at that first round.
of course. And the other thing is potential for injuries. You have to remember that to go through number of fights with in an amateur ranks where the fighters are still relatively young, they're learning, they make some mistakes, they come with their head a bit, right?
You get
So
those cuts,
potential
right?
for cuts. So you're not only fighting your opponent, but you may win the fight, and you may be on your 4th or 5th fight in the tournament, getting to the final, and you get cut, and you may be
and
eliminated.
there's actually one thing most people don't know. When you get to the higher tournaments, say like a national tournament, they do no headgear.
That is correct, yes.
And they always think amateurs is headgear. Well, yes and no. In like smaller tournaments or just in like a...
Certain ages too.
Yes.
Before you
It's
become...
only seniors, right?
That's
The
right.
senior
Before
level.
you
So 18
below
up.
19, right?
18.
18 or 19?
Pretty sure it's 18.
Okay.
Either or.
We
18
will
or
verify.
19.
I think it's 19, but that's okay. That's a homework for you folks to verify. Is it 18 or 19 to become what it's called elite fighter? Elite fighter in amateur boxing is a fighter that is considered an adult.
So I was saying, in the smaller tournaments, they wear headgear. And then in the bigger ones, they don't wear headgear.
That's
so those cuts, boom, right away. It could happen in the first 10 seconds because someone just went in with the head, right?
That's right. Yeah.
And how can they last a tournament? Sometimes a doctor, they win the fight, doctor checks them and says no, they can't fight the next day.
Game over. So that's the mechanics of the amateur boxing as it can happen. So that ends, and then of course, some fighters decide to continue on and do just be an amateur and continue fighting amateur and hope to achieve the biggest trophies, win the world championships, go to Olympics, so on and so forth, become a national treasure in their country.
Yes.
And there are a number of countries like that in the Eastern Europe, past Soviet Union, in European countries and some Asian countries. Western world, it doesn't happen so much. But there's of course the other step that they feel, well, I have achieved as much as I can in the sport of boxing, and now I am looking to become a professional fighter. And as the word says, professional fighter means getting paid for
Job. It's a job.
It becomes a job up to a degree. In some cases it may be a part-time job, but we'll get to that in a minute. So then they basically drop the ranks of amateur, and the transition really doesn't require anything special. You basically, what happens is the minute you sign the contract for your next professional fight, this is when you become a professional fighter. And of course you better be ready. And this is going back to a little bit earlier to what I was saying. Anyone can become a professional fighter. Now, leading up to what I just said, it was a transition from a experienced amateur fighter who makes the decision. So she or he, they have number of fights. In your case, you had 106 fights?
110 fights.
110 amateur fights. So you were well seasoned, well positioned.
Yes.
You knew that this is what you want to do.
I was going into the ring already prepared.
That's right. But there can be a person who may train boxing for a year, and let's say they started at the age of 20 or 24. And
actually, there is some boxers like that.
That's right.
That just do a professional career. They don't even have an amateur background.
That's right. And then they decide, they may have one amateur fight. And they say, you know what, this is not for me. I just wanted to see how it feels. I want to go pro.
Yeah.
And boom. And the sport allows them to do that. And this is where the verification happens of the fighter, whether he or she is ready
Yeah.
to compete at the professional ranks.
But there's also another thing. Some of the amateur fighters, because when you think of amateur and professional, there's a bit of a different style in the boxing.
That is correct, yes.
Because in professional, you have more rounds,
That's right, yeah.
right? So the pace is much slower. It's more technique. People are timing, looking for this stuff. But in the amateur, it's just like pitter patter, quick, quick, quick. You have to show as much. It's not so clean. Like it's not so slow, right?
That's
so
right,
it's
yeah.
just non-stop work because you
Yes.
only got 3 rounds.
Or so it should be. Or so it should
and
be,
it
right?
should be.
It should be, and of course, the judging in a pro boxing, delivering powerful punches. In professional boxing, people are looking for spectacular, powerful punches.
So that's why some of the amateur fighters don't switch to the professional because they just don't have that style.
That's
They
right.
feel like that they don't belong there, so they just stay in the amateurs. Or some professionals, they say, "Look, my style does not match the amateurs. That I can't fight that, so I just got to stay here."
That's right. Again, another great observation. My style doesn't match the amateur or vice versa. And, that is another reason why some amateur fighters say, look, I'm getting no recognition for who I am in amateur fighting because, I can do this, but I'm not getting the recognition from the judges because this
Some
is...
boxers are able to, and some are not.
Right, because this is not what the judges are seeing, and I feel that I'm winning fights,
But then you actually lose.
But on the end, actually, I do lose them. Yet I felt that I'm doing all the work, and very much correctly so. If that fight would have been taking place in the professional ranks, they would have been probably get recognized and win the fight decisively, and that would have completely map up the future in a different way. But okay, so there we go. This is all the time we have for today. This will continue. So we have got to the edge of now entering, showing to the viewers a brief history of the difference and the road and the way to enter the professional ranks. And of course now we are getting into the very interesting things, the money that people talk about, the politics, the who is who, and the cleanliness and the dirt of the professional boxing, the responsibilities that the professional fighter bears.
Has to go through, right?
We're gonna talk about the managers. We're gonna talk about the promoters. We're gonna talk about
There's
the trainers,
a lot to
the
it.
fighters. Folks, we are just getting started. The series will continue on and we're gonna get much more interesting. So stay with us. Please hit the subscribe button, and of course, Alexis, the training continues with for the fight with Lara Vollenman.
May 9th, get your tickets on Iron Lady Promotions or message me. And don't forget, you get an exclusive fight t-shirt for that night.
Right here, right? It's right
Exactly.
here above that. So beautiful Alexis Mac shot, the plastered right up front.
And one more thing, happy Easter, enjoy the weekend.
Take care, everyone. I am Derek Kubicki. She's the fighter. I'm the subscriber. Thank you very much.